You might say, hey, my tire wore funny. Why did my tire wear funny? Well, first thing you need to do is find out if you have any loose parts. Well, when your daughter drives your car and says, well, I've been getting used to that noise it's been making. If your tire moves like this, it could be a tie rod. But if it also moves like this, then it's probably the axle. Yeah, because it's not supposed to do that. So we're going to replace the axle. We bought a hub assembly. This is a 2005 Toyota Prius. Yeah, if you wiggle on this, nothing moves, but you got all that motion in this thing. You can see the motion. So the very first thing you want to do after you take off the tire is remove that bolt right there in this analog brake speed sensor. If you don't do that, that can get damaged. So take this off, first thing you do, and then it's the last thing you do when you put the new part back on. Leave the caliper together with the bracket. Well, I'm going to take off my two caliper bracket bolts, which are right here, and there's one down lower. Take those off and hang it with the bungee cord. These are 17 millimeter. Give that a little tug. That's the top one. While you're in here, check out the brake pads. Yeah, I just replaced those. That fits right there on that spring. Now we can get back here to these bolts. There's one there, and then two over here. But there should be no wiggle. All right, 1 3/16. That should work. Well, I'm going to spray these with some encouragement juice. Hopefully that'll make life easier. Now the nice thing about this is that it is a bolt-on, which means we don't have to take this knuckle off and press the bearing in and out like you do on a Gen 1. This is a Gen 2, so we don't have to do that on this Gen 2. Now before you unscrew this all the way, give that a lub tap with the sledgehammer to make sure that the rest breaks loose from the spline on the CV axle. Oh yeah, it's already loose, so I don't have to worry about that. There is a dust cover back here that you kind of got to get out of the way before you can get to those bolts. So we're going to have to pry this dust cover right here off a little bit from both sides, a little at a time. There's your speed sensor gear on your CV axle. And remember, on this little dust cap thingy badoohickey, there's a hole, and that hole has to be lined up when you put it back together with this hole. So keep that in mind, so otherwise your speed sensor won't work, and this will mess up your speed sensor if you don't press it back into the new axle once it goes in there. I got one of them loose. I'm gonna unscrew that one. I gotta loosen this one. So you gotta get your wrench back here to there. You gotta move this dust cap around because you gotta get to that bottom one. Get that dust cap out of your way, and then push in the CV axle. It gives you a little bit more room. Push that in and give you a little more room. All right, let's see if we can get the right tool for the job. Basically going to fasten this to a slide hammer and try to pull this off of here. So I banged right there, but it didn't do anything. You can see how messed up this bearing is. Oh, these are fun. They make you feel like a man. And I get it on plenty of threads. Oh, there went the brakes. You don't want to do that too many times. Alright, so I put my bungee on my brake caliper. Like I said I would, but didn't. Let's see if we can get this off of here. It's moving. Yeah, look how bad that is. Oh, here it comes. Whoa. Well, we set up a little differently here. So I screwed the hub bolts into the hubs. Threaded part. I'm going to reattach the slide hammer, yank on that. Yeah, that's all the stuff that's supposed to hold the ball bearings in. So I'm going a little bit different route here. Get this in here. Try not to mess up those threads on that bolt. I'm working my hammer around the side of it, trying to get it out. Oh look, the ball bearings from the inside are falling out. Alrighty. Alright. So that was rusted in there. Goodness. Gonna have to straighten that up. The inside of the bearing. Junk. And here's that speed sensor hole. It's got to be over here. Let me line it up finally. But this has to go inside of your bearing. Your new bearing. Inside of that. Good luck with that. We'll try to clean as much of this oxidation out of here as possible. And then boogered up my back plate, so I had to hammer it flat. It goes on like this. 2 closer screws on top. Made sure all my holes were lined up. So it work with the new one. Yep. Because that got boogered up. Don't forget to put your back plate on. Two closer ones to the top. I think it started. I'll get all these lined up before you tighten any of them all the way. Okay, the torque for all of these is 45 foot-pounds on a 2004 through 2009. So you notice I had to pull this, I tightened them all, got them all snug. Now I just need to torque them from the back. And when you torque them, push this in, it'll help you have more room to get this dust cover out of the way so you get to the bolts. Next, we've got to line up this dust cover. Make sure the hole is in the center there. Just kind of tap it in with the CV axle. Yeehaw! You'll see right there, there's space between the dust cover and the new hub assembly. You want to make sure that gap is closed, otherwise it'll rub on your speed sensor, these ears on your CV axle. So we're having to take this off just so we can accomplish that. Alright, so just by removing those three, well, 1 bolt, 2 nuts, I was able to pull the CV axle out. So I'm just using my old rusted, broken off hub assembly. I'll put it like this and tap it in. That way I can get my dust cover tapped in the right place. Alright, let's see if that did the trick. Yep, the gap's gone. Awesome. Now it won't rub on my CV axle. Put your CV axle back in. We'll pull this out of the way. Put this back in. There we go. Who said you can't do things one-handed? All right, it's in there. So you gotta just push down on this. Pop that off of those connectors, and to put it back on, you just push down on it, line up your back hole, swing in the front one. Alright, super easy, barely an inconvenience. Alright, the ball joints on a 2005, so 2004 and later, are 66 foot-pounds. Time to take this down. And this keeps these brakes perfect gap. Just try not to drop your pads out. Oh. Forgot to put on the rotor. Now these caliper bracket bolts are 80 foot-pounds. So I got the top one started. The bottom one's easier when you get the top one started. Of course, you have to get creative with the top one, because everything can't be made simply, you know, to be able to use all the tools in the world. Let's put this back in. Got the hole lined up, so there's no gap in there anymore. Now this axle nut gets tightened to 159 foot-pounds, which I believe is about as far as my torque wrench goes to. These sockets I have are 3/4 inch, so that's a 3/4 inch driver. So I had to go get an adapter from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch so I could use this. 1 3/16 is just a little bigger than 30 millimeters. So this is a 30 millimeter nut. And you got to have a 12 point to do it. And the last thing you want to do before you put this tire back on is punch that down. It's a retainer. Keep the nut from unscrewing itself. So just hit that with a hammer. Just tap it down so it won't unscrew itself.